Let's go into the basics on LangChain versus LangGraph. Let's take a simple example of user asking the chatbot, which is the fastest land animal in the world. Right? So the chatbot checks with the LLM, which is pre-trained with a lot of information, and the chatbot responds with a single word called cheetah, or it says the fastest land animal on the world is cheetah. Now, what if I ask a question, will I get a certificate if I complete the neuromastery course? The chatbot or the LLM has no idea what the neuromastery course is. It doesn't know if I will complete it, what happens, will I get a certificate, will I not? It has no idea about anything about my data. So then the chatbot simply responds saying that, sorry, I don't know. Now, logically, if I want the LLM to know about my course called neuromastery, I have to teach it. This is where RAG comes in. RAG is retrieval augmented generation, which is my data that I am feeding into the LLM or my data that the LLM accesses. Right? So now the LLM has access to my, say, 25 documents about my website called Neuromastery. Now, Neuromastery website with neuroscience course data, LLM doesn't know about. But with RAG, I can teach it this. So now the chatbot will respond, yes, you will get a certificate upon completion of this course because the website says so and the 25 documents says so. So this is where RAG comes in. It starts with document retrieval. So I have like say 25 documents about my website called Neuromastery. I split the document into chunks. So because if there's too much documents, each document could be very large. So I split it into smaller chunks. I put it inside something called as a vector DB. It's a vector database where I store embeddings. So instead of storing complete English sentences, I create a digital number out of these English text, and that number is what I store in my database. Now, when the user asks a question, I will retrieve only the lines which make sense for me. So only the lines which says certificate or which says completion of the course, only those lines will be fetched back. The LLM will look at those lines and make the response. But in a nutshell, I am creating all my content, persisting it not as English text, but as numbers in some digital format. The new text that user asks, I will compare it and see which of these numbers have data which is relevant to what the user is asking, fetch that information and create the response for the user. Now, where does LangChain come in? LangChain is basically a set of functions which help you do most things related to AI, right? So LangChain helps you do all of these steps one by one. So if you have to create your own document retrieval, you would have to build a whole library of getting the PDF or getting different formats, managing all the formats. Instead, you have a single function called text loader. Similarly, you have something called character text splitter, which will split the documents into smaller chunks. You have something called FAISS, which is basically to create embeddings and persisting it into your Postgres or whichever DB you want. And you have something called retrieval QA with sources chain. This function helps you do a cosine similarity, which is if I ask a question, will I get a certificate? It is going and comparing that with all the embeddings which are similar to it. And based on that, it is saying that these 5 sentences or these 5 chunks possibly have information which can answer the question which the user is asking. And based on that, the LLM will just create the final response and give it. So LLM doesn't need to go through all 25 documents, only the valid chunks which have the relevant data. And LangChain is giving me all the functions which help me do this better. LangChain is a framework that makes it easier to build LLM powered application. Right? So LangChain is not an AI tool itself. It is a lot of functions, wrapper layer on top of our core code. What is LangGraph? What we did so far is this. When the user asks a simple question, which is the fastest land animal, LLM responds with cheetah. The user asks, will I get a certificate? Initially, the LLM did not know this. I taught the LLM with RAG. So it says, yes, you will get a certificate upon completion of this course. But what if I say, when is the next discovery call for the course? So the course is say happening every 3 months, but during the 3 months, I might have sales calls, which are called discovery calls. Now for the discovery call, my RAG data will not know whether there is availability in my next week's sales call. I do a sales call every Saturday, but the RAG data will not know whether there is availability in the next call or whether there is a call on Saturday at all. So again, the chatbot will say, sorry, I don't know because this RAG data is not good enough. So the LLM will access an external API, which could be a calendar API. It could be Google Calendar, Calendly, or Zoom, or it could be wherever you have information about your upcoming discovery call, sales call slot, and it will fetch that API, get the available slot, and then the chatbot will say next available slot is on 21st August 2025. Right? This is an example, but you get the idea that the chatbot now has more data. So we are slowly training the chatbot to have more and more information about my website, so that it's basically replacing me. Right? So now I don't have to keep on responding to a lot of these things. The chatbot will slowly get better and better at answering, whether it is static data which I have fed using RAG, or it is dynamic data which keeps on changing. That is done using tools. LangGraph is again like LangChain, but it basically makes it in the complex cases where it needs more information, it needs more API calls and more data that it needs to fetch from different places. So basically you are building agentic AI cases, which are complex scenarios. To start with, you build AI agents, but LangGraph also lets you build agentic AI, which means multiple agents talking to each other is also possible with LangGraph. Let's take a few examples. Suppose I ask a question which says, should I buy this course? Again, this is the same chatbot for my neuromastery course. So should I buy this course is a very interesting question, because unless the bot knows enough about you, it will not answer it. By default, the bot could say something like, I don't know whether or not you should buy the course, and maybe it will just stop there. But if I have fed enough RAG data to train it, it would then know that, okay, here are a few questions to consider. Are you struggling with focus, stress, or procrastination? Do you want to learn how to optimize your attention? Are you interested in joining a community? Depending on what you want, then yes, this course will be helpful for you. So the more information it has about the course, and the more information it has about the user. In this case, it doesn't have any information about the user, but probably if I keep asking the question, and if I am saving this chat history and keep on feeding it to the LLM, now the LLM knows whatever I have said yes to in the past, right? Or if I am somebody who has already booked the discovery call slot, so that I have shown interest in this course, then maybe it will say, yes, maybe this is for you, and so on. So the data points are increasing, which makes it smarter. Do we get a certificate for this course? Just the LLM would not be able to answer, but GenAI plus RAG can answer. So yes, you will receive a certificate signed by somebody. And on the right, you have GenAI plus RAG plus tools plus complex workflow. So that is, when is the next discovery call? So here you can see there's a step which is get discovery call. And here it says this get discovery call tool is responding with the output that it is understood that the next available slot for a discovery call is on Monday, July 14, 2025. This is the output that the tool gives the LLM. The LLM takes this output and responds with its own text. The next available slot for a discovery call is on Monday, July 14. So it understands the text, but LLM is processing it and giving its own text on top of it. So yes, you can use LangGraph for this and LangChain for both of them, obviously. But the power of LangGraph is, for example, if you ask, I'm not sure if I should buy it, so what should I do next? So now it could do a back and forth discussion of multiple agents. That one, it could look for the user's past history, it could look for user's interest, it could look for user's availability, it could look for the discovery call availability. Is this price really relevant for the user? Lot of things that it can do. Lot of times it can interrupt the user asking for information it doesn't have. But ideally, the whole value of something like LangGraph is when it can do multiple agents running together to reach the goal of convincing the user to buy the course. Okay, let's just compare LangChain and LangGraph, right? So LangChain as a purpose is to give ready to use functions to build LLM apps. So we took the example of how you can do RAG, but each step of the RAG you can do with ready-made functions which LangChain already provides. LangGraph is for, yes, LangGraph has the basic functionalities which you can do to build agents, but it is built for managing complex workflows. So it is with state, with memory, with lot of loops. It can do a lot of cross collaborative agent scenario. That's what the purpose of the tool is for. So LangChain has a style of linear chain, hence the word chain, because it is a chain of tasks that is being used for language related tasks. That's what LangChain is about. LangGraph is graph-based chains, because you could have multiple graphs of if-elses and conditions and multiple agents deciding certain things, and support loops, retries, memory. So you have different styles of agents running differently, all coming together to reach your final goal. So a use case for LangChain is simple chatbots, RAG apps is what it is built for. It will give you the functions to build such kind of applications easily. LangGraph is built for multi-step workflows, agents with memory, conditional paths, a lot of complex cases. Right? LangChain is stateless, which means it doesn't really persist too much memory between chains. It is more for making sure that each step in your chain, it helps you do it well. But LangGraph is fully stateful because all the agents having multiple chains within it are all having a single layer of state and memory. Transition of data between different agents is easily possible with LangGraph.